Okay, thank you. Um, a warm welcome to all of you for this webinar series, and I would also like to, um, congratulate you on the World Water Day. We are observing the World Water Day today on 22nd of March, and I would like to thank the organizers, that is Energy and Wetland Research Group at CES IISc, Professor TVRAMACHANDRA and his team at IISc. Moving forward, today's topic is much significant in terms of water resources because today we are facing a direct crisis of water in all the domains. So the topic for today's discussion is application of geoinformatics, especially in agriculture field, that is agriculture water resources. To start with, I would just like to present you a slide wherein you can see here the transition of a place from a particular desert to it is turned to agriculture fields. So if this is possible in a place like Saudi Arabia, why not in India? We are having such good amount of natural resources. Why can't we have our own sustainable agriculture practices? That is the question that we need to answer. So if you look at this image, this gives the powerful signal that why the geospatial techniques or the geoinformatics is important today. This is the recent event what we had seen in the Wayanad area, that is the July 30th of 2024. We had seen a catastrophic event in the Wayanad area. So if you look at the figure here that is seen, just give me 1 second. If you see the figure here on the top, this is the SAR imagery, that is synthetic aperture radar imagery, and the bottom one what you see is a optical imagery. Now I would like to highlight the difference between the SAR imagery and the optical imagery. In optical imagery, basically we are looking at the wavelength region, that is the blue band, green band, red band, and near infrared band. And if you see the SAR, that is completely a microwave region. So the biggest advantage for the SAR dataset is that you do not have to worry about the clouds. If you look at the bottom image, there are a lot of clouds and the cloud is covered. So that becomes it becomes a threat for our remote sensing activities, or I would like to say it as a disadvantage. Whereas if you take the SAR imagery, there are no clouds. But again, there is a compromise. One has to compromise with the spatial resolution. So the best thing is to go for integrated. This is the recent study that has been made on Wayanad floods in Churalmala. So we need to go for an integrated approach where we can combine the data sets. And all of you might be aware of this topmost image, that is nothing but the old parliament and the new parliament in New Delhi. How are you identifying that? Because many of you might have not seen this view at all of the parliament, but you are able to identify that from the shape. So shape is one of the major factor. Like that, we have several other elements for image interpretation. And if you see the another image at the bottom right, this was again one of the very well demonstrated use of satellite imagery for before and after a flooding event. So this is one of the major event which happened in Bihar, that is the Kosi river breach. So here you can see to the left, that is the pre-beach, how the river course was there, and ultimately it will go and join the Ganga river. But here you can see after the breach of the dam at the border of the Nepal and Bihar region. So it was a very catastrophic event which happened in 2008, and thousands of lives were lost. So this calls for an immediate action that needs to be taken, especially in the water resource domain. I'm just trying to give you a wider perspective of what water can be at different areas. And now, as we speak about the geographic information technology or geographic information system, so one thing that strikes is geoinformatics. That is a term that is being given for the three main types under one single umbrella, that is global positioning system, remote sensing, and geographic information system. Along with that, of late, that is in the recent 8 or 10 years, we also have two technologies. One is the information communication technology, that is ICT, and SDSS, that is spatial decision support system, which has already been demonstrated by IISc WRG team under the projects like BUIS, that is Bangalore Urban Information System, and BLIS, that is Bangalore Lake Information System. We'll speak about it later. And when we see the term geoinformatics, if we try to break this, it is geo plus information plus matics, which means the measurement and the management of the geographical data that we have. So once we have the data that has been collected, we can apply any kind of analysis to get the required information for our area. Now, I already mentioned under the umbrella of geoinformatics, we also have remote sensing. I would like to quote one of our late professors, P.C. Deka, from NITK Surathkal. He told us, or he made us understand remote sensing in very, very simple words. Look, and no touch. That means you are looking at a distant object from a faraway distance. You are not in physical contact with that particular object, but then you are trying to get some information. So that is the basic definition of remote sensing. Not being in physical contact with the object, but still you are trying to get the information about the object itself. So we are in our daily lives, when we see, as you are seeing the screen, you are doing the remote sensing. You are not directly touching the screen every time to get the information, but you are able to see what is there presented on the screen. And if we look at the animal kingdom, the bats also do the remote sensing via sonar. That is nothing but they use a technology where the sound waves that they send, and they sense that there is a prey, and they go and attack the prey. They are also doing the remote sensing. They are not being directly in contact with the prey, the bats, but they are able to perceive where it is. And if you see, the electromagnetic radiation is the basic principle that is explained in the remote sensing. You are all seeing this electromagnetic radiation and electromagnetic waves. So that becomes the core part of the remote sensing. And moving further, the electromagnetic radiation, as we speak of. So as all of you know, the electromagnetic spectrum, if you see, it starts from the gamma rays. That is what the humans have been able to identify so far. Beyond gamma rays, as we say, the electromagnetic spectrum is continuous. That is, the energy that is emitted by sun is continuous. So you cannot have a start or end. But this is what, as human beings today, as of today, we are able to perceive. That is starting from the gamma rays, then you have the X-rays, ultraviolet rays. Then you have the key region, which is also known as the visible range of the spectrum. So when we talk about the visible range of the spectrum, so it starts from the 0.4 micrometers and it ends at the 0.7 micrometers. 0.4 to 0.5 is blue, 0.5 to 0.6 is green, and 0.6 to 0.7 is red. And further, if you see, here you can compare the wavelength with respect to the actual size, real-time size. So when we speak about the gamma rays or X-rays, we are basically speaking about the atomic nucleus size, or a proton size, or electron size, or an atom size, which cannot be seen with the naked eye. So our naked eye can see only in the visible spectrum. That is why we try to perceive the colors starting from blue to red. And if we go beyond, you have the infrared region, where the wavelength is it is approximately about 0.7 to 1.3 micrometer, which is nothing but the point of a nail. And then further you have the thermal infrared and radio waves and microwaves. And to the right, as you can see, these are the 5 basic building blocks of remote sensing, that is called as the fundamental equations of remote sensing. The first one, of course, all of you are much familiar. That is the C is equal to lambda into nu, where C is the speed of the light or the velocity, and lambda, which is the wavelength, and nu is nothing but the frequency. So this is called as the characteristics of electromagnetic energy in terms of wave theory. we also have the characteristics of electromagnetic energy in terms of particle theory. So what does the particle theory say? Particle theory says any energy associated with one particulate matter is directly proportional to its V. V is nothing but its frequency. Now, if you take out the frequency term and replace it in terms of the velocity of light and the wavelength, so this becomes Q is equal to hc by lambda, where h is called as the Planck's constant. Now you can see the relationship between Q and lambda. What is the relationship between Q and lambda? Q is the energy and lambda is the wavelength, and these two are inversely proportional. So as you see, now let us apply this characteristics of EM energy with respect to particle theory. The energy associated is inversely proportional to the wavelength. So if you see the gamma rays, I will take only the case of gamma rays and radio waves. Gamma rays is having the lesser wavelength. So since it is inversely proportional, it is having more and more energy. So you cannot be exposing yourself to the gamma rays much. It will have a direct effect on your skin and other parts. Whereas if you take the radio waves, the wavelength is very, very high and it has very less energy. That is why when you are using a mobile phone, you are using the radio frequency waves, you are not much affected with that. Moving ahead, when you see the geospatial data in our day-to-day life, how it is influencing. So majorly all of us are using mobile phones extensively today for maybe for communication or maybe for several other things. So one of them is for navigation. We all know that Google Maps is there for navigation assistant. And we also have service and delivery platforms like Swiggy, Ola, Uber, Zomato. We are using that on a daily basis. So that also has a very good impact that in the background we are using geospatial data itself to construct these maps or analysis, etc. And it is also having a very good impact on the governance, e-governance. Today the talk of the town is e-governance, how we can monitor the government activities. So, and as you know, I mentioned it earlier also, the EWRG IISc has already successfully demonstrated the use of geospatial technology for urban information management and lake information management, and also Western Ghats information support system is also there. So please explore when you have time. And one of the major input, that is the decision support system, which is backed by geospatial data sets, is the Krishi decision support system, which has been launched by Ministry of Agriculture and the Government of India. And this is accessible to all the farmers so that they can get the information about crop mapping, crop health, weather patterns, drought management, and so on. In this figure, you can see an eminent person. The person who is standing right is me, and the person who is standing to the left is a farmer, and his name is Mr. Setpal Singh. He belongs to the Saharanpur district of Uttar Pradesh. And if you see, he is being given the award of Padma Shri in the year 2021. But immediate question to you is why he is being offered the Padma Shri award. So what is his contribution as a farmer? So if you look at it, earlier he did in his farm the monoculture farming and the traditional farming with his father. I'm telling this with this confidence because we had a workshop at his farm wherein we visited his farm and the technologies what he is using. So he started going to Krishi Vignan Kendra and he adopted, he adopted various technologies that were available at the KVKs, the regional institutes, and he practiced it in his farm. So today he is having been known in that region, and for that matter for the entire India, he is known as the sustainable farming man, because he is practicing sustainable farming practices, organic farming practices, multi-cropping, not only the cash crop, he is also having multi-crops, millets, lotus, mushrooms, rice, sugarcane. You can see in this image, he is having the sugarcane and so many other crops in his crop area. Okay, and here you can see in one of the pictures, he is using the advanced instruments for evapotranspiration measurement, the weather measurement like temperature, humidity, rainfall, etc. So that is being supported, of course, by IIRS and other government institutions, but he has been doing this since a very long time. Now, when we come to the agriculture and the issues and challenges that are there with the agriculture, we are already facing issues with respect to deforestation and species loss. which is already reported in many of the literatures. And also we have the CO2 pollution levels, and that is depleting ozone layers. Global mean temperature is increasing. Many of the studies with respect to the land surface temperature, urban heat island has already been dealing with these aspects. And we are also having global freshwater withdrawal that is more than the stipulated amount, which is creating an imbalance in our ecosystem. And also, if you see, there is a direct impact of greenhouse gas emission and the global sea level rise. Actually, there is a demo by NOAA, that is National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. You can go through this website, wherein you can visualize the sea level rise. What happens when there is a sea level rise at a particular stipulated number. Then coming to the other set of challenges, what we are facing specifically with respect to India and the agriculture and food security, we say. So we all know that since the population has been increasing throughout the years, our supply and demand chain is being disrupted, and our supply needs to be doubled by the year 2050. And we also are facing the challenges with respect to land fragmentation. We have forest loss, we have wetland loss. How do we address this? That is also one of the major challenge. Then if we specifically look at the agriculture water use in terms of irrigation, in India, we have to focus on better irrigation planning. Why? Because if you see certain areas in Karnataka, if I take for example, the regions like Mandya, it is overly fed with lot of irrigation water. So how can we balance this so that that water can be given to some other farms where it is really required? And agriculture production, as you know, it must be intensified in a very sustainable way, and we need technological interventions to that. In urban areas also, there have been many workshops which majorly focuses on rooftop harvesting and other urban agriculture practices. Now, I am just highlighting the top 4 news of 2024. The first one is the artificial intelligence and remote sensing data to predict the crop yield in a timely manner. Then geospatial technology and its application in agriculture itself, especially in India. And one of the major news in 2024 was drones. How the drone is transforming the Indian agriculture market was the talk. So when we see the agriculture drones, which costs around 4 to 5 lakh and which can carry a payload of 8 to 10 liters. So this 8 to 10 liters payload can be your agriculture seeds, or it can be agriculture fertilizers, or it can be pesticides. So this is going to transform the entire, the agriculture sector. And also the government of India launched the Drone Didi mission, where it aims to provide 15,000 women self-help group during the financial year 2024 to 2026, and it is expected to generate an additional income of at least 1 lakh per year for each self-help group that is being identified by the government. Now, at the global level, we are talking about the climate smart agriculture, that is CSA, as I indicated. CSA is just an approach to help and guide the actions to transform the agriculture food system and market, towards the green and resilient practices, which has been demonstrated by the Food and Agricultural Organization and also the UN, which also encapsulates the core idea of SDG, that is Sustainable Development Goal. Further, if you see the CSA, we have the indicators such as, the productivity under the crop system, water usage, energy, and how this can be best utilized by considering various sub-indicators to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, to achieve this climate smart agriculture or the Sustainable Development Goals, we need to have a system where you can integrate the field data with the remote sensing data. That is where the challenge can be addressed by bridging the gap through the geospatial technology, especially with respect to the Earth observation satellites. If you see the Indian context, we have plenty of satellites which can give you enough data for monitoring the agricultural sector. So we have the ResourceSat, ReSat, Cartosat, which is a high resolution satellite, and we also have a large We also have large satellites like OceanSat, which can monitor larger areas, and weather-oriented satellites, which can give you the information about rainfall, temperature, okay, and other cyclone or any other extremities. Here I have listed in this table taken from Ray et al. You can see the name of the satellite and its resolutions in terms of the sensor, that is the spectral resolution, and the spatial resolution, and its repeat cycle, which is nothing but the temporal resolution. So overall, if you see, it is a mix of the moderate resolution, low resolution, and high resolution, along with a very good revisit time if you take the Indian data. The same holds good with the global data sets also. If you see the Landsat 8 and Landsat 9 series, which is having 9 band and 11 band, and if you see the temporal resolution, you can get the 16-day composite, and also we have the Sentinel-2, which can have 5-day revisit time, so that can also be obtained. We also have certain dedicated Earth resource monitoring satellite. For evapotranspiration, we have the Landsat series. Now the latest series is Landsat 9. And the precipitation, earlier we had the TRMM, that is Tropical Rainfall Measurement Mission. Now we have the GPM. Soil moisture, we have SMAP. And likewise, we have for groundwater also. But today, the order of the day is the UAV, that is the unmanned aerial vehicles or the drones. And this can have direct impact on agriculture with respect to the crop mapping, crop health monitoring and mapping. And also, if you see, we have the crop yield estimation, crop management. And there are so many avenues where the drone data can directly help. But the only disadvantage of drone is that you cannot have a greater temporal resolution. So, any system that we have, it has its own advantage and disadvantage. So now when we are talking about the usage of this kind of satellite data for agriculture, the next question what we have is that how much of water do we need? So when we look at the water security, it clearly states that it is the ability to access sufficient quantities of clean water for everyone, and how it can be sustainably used for usage, or whether it is a healthcare or the standard drinking water access or anything for that sort. When we look at the agriculture sector, barley or wheat needs around 1,300 to 1,700 liters per hectare area. And when we see the meat, it is having the highest impact, it is 14,000 liter per kg. When we look at a shirt that is coming out of a factory, a cotton t-shirt requires around 4,100 liter of water. And similarly, if you look at the urban sector, Bangalore, as we know, the total demand of Bangalore is around 2,600 million liters a day. And out of which the 1,450 MLD is being given out by Kaveri in different stages, like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, up to stage 5. The balance, the 1,250 demand is being managed with respect to the lake water, groundwater, and some other sources. So when we are speaking about the groundwater, I think already Professor TVRAMACHANDRA's lab has already done a lot of experiments on how this groundwater is affecting on health of the people, because the groundwater, we are going beyond 800 feet. So that is also a question, how to manage the groundwater. Now, when we look at the major aspects of agriculture management, water management, we have the water budgeting for crop type, crop growth, health monitoring, etc. And irrigation scheduling is one of the input where based on the weather conditions, we can manage the irrigation with respect to the field conditions also, that is evapotranspiration rate, soil moisture, etc. And certain water conservation techniques that needs to be implemented in majority of the agriculture sector. Like for example, the fields where you have sugarcane can also be monitored with respect to the irrigation technique that can be changed instead of giving the continuous water supply. So like this, the interventions can be made, and also the soil moisture monitoring using our advanced satellite observations as well as the field data collection, and the crop selection and management. Instead of going for cash crops. We can also go for the locally sustainable crops, millets, etc. That is coming under multiple cropping system. Then I'm now taking you to the basics of the vegetation dynamics to understand the crop water requirement and the evapotranspiration. So when we look at a plant, so it is also having its own structure. It is doing the photosynthesis where it requires the sunlight, the carbon dioxide and the water, and it is giving out the organic compounds. So this organic part of the organic compound is being fed by itself for building the various components of a plant like leaves, stem, branches, which is also called as biomass. Whereas majority of the carbon dioxide is consumed for this productivity and oxygen is being let out. When we look at the vegetation productivity, the basis of terrestrial biosphere functioning and used for carbon energy, etc., can be a meaningful case. Further, the vegetation productivity itself can be monitored with respect to the Earth observation studies. So here, as we discussed earlier with respect to the electromagnetic spectrum, so out of the electromagnetic spectrum, majority of our systems work in the visible, in the infrared, or in the shortwave infrared and microwave region, because most of our models are built in such a way to retrieve the values in this particular regions. So when we look at these, one thing what strikes to my mind is spectral reflectance and vegetation indices. So we'll discuss about vegetation indices. So when we look at spectral reflectance, what do you mean by spectral reflectance? That is nothing but the simple ratio of the energy that is reflected to the total incident energy. Now, if you see this graph onto the right, here in the visible region, there are two types of trees. One is deciduous trees. Like for example, you can take the Indian Ashoka tree, Aladamara, we call it in the local terms, Aladamara. We can take a deciduous tree and a coniferous trees, which is, sort of like a Christmas tree. So if you see from a satellite, for a satellite, both of them are same. I mean, when you are looking at the optical range, that is blue, green and red bands from a satellite, both the coniferous and deciduous trees, their signature overlap. That means the spectral response over the different wavelengths, they overlap. At the wavelength blue, the deciduous and coniferous both are overlapping, green also overlapping, red also overlapping. So that means I am not able to differentiate between the coniferous and deciduous in the visible portion. Everything is looking as green. But when I reach the infrared region that is beyond 0.7 micrometer, you can see a clear difference in the spectral response for coniferous trees as well as the deciduous trees. So this is one of the major input in remote sensing, which helps us to track the vegetation and of course its health. So in this figure, you can see the SRC, that is spectral reflectance curve for soil. This is for vegetation, the continuous line. And for water does not show much of the curve beyond your visible region. That is why if you take any kind of microwave image, there you can see water as dark color, that is black in color. Whereas if you take the vegetation, it is having a lot of dips and peak and dip configuration, we call it. So this is basically due to the leaf pigments in this region, that is in the visible region. The leaf pigments, they acquire or absorb all the energy. That is why the reflectance is less. Whereas if you look at the infrared portion, this is due to the internal cell structure of the leaf. That is why you are having the major reflectance up to 50%. And then you have the water absorption bands specifically at 1.4 meter, 1.9 meter and beyond. So that is due to the water content that is present, the absorption is more. So yeah, this is the explanation for that. We have something called as a red edge, which is nothing but the red band and NIR band. So if we take the difference, you see here the red band is having the lowest reflection and the NIR band is having the highest reflection of vegetation. That is why these two bands, if you consider for vegetation, we can clearly say whether the vegetation is having a good growth or not. That is through one index, which is called as normalized difference vegetation index. Now, how do we differentiate with respect to a healthy leaf and a stressed leaf? So this green color, what you're seeing is a healthy leaf, healthy vegetation and its signature. Whereas if you see the stressed vegetation, that is water stressed, its reflection changes. So here you can see in the visible region, it is having more reflection in the green and red band. That is why if you take a unhealthy leaf, it is generally in the form of a brown color or a maroon color. That means it is either a dead leaf or it is having water stress. Further, as I was discussing about normalized difference vegetation index, it is the simple ratio of two bands, the difference of two bands, that is NIR and red. Why NIR and red? Just now we discussed that the vegetation is having the lowest value in red and highest reflectance value in NIR region. So that is called as the normalized difference vegetation index. And how do we assess vegetation's health using the NDVI is that if you have the values from -1 to 0, that means it is a dead object. It can also be an urban area and it can also be a dead plant. If you are having the vegetation indices from 0 to 0.33, it is an unhealthy plant. That means your immediate attention is required there with respect to the water or any other aspect. Then 0.33 to 0.66 gives the moderately healthy plant. And if you have the values of 0.66 to 1, that means it is a very, very healthy plant. So this is the context of NDVI with respect to vegetation health. The simple exercise was done for Chandigarh region from 1990 to 2017. All the images that were collected was the same month, that is April month. And this is how you see the vegetation dynamics in the Chandigarh and surrounding region. And you see this NDVI is a very, very crude method of estimating the vegetation. But when it comes to agriculture, we are speaking about some 2 acres or 3 acres, and this cannot be much effective there to understand the plant health. So various other methods are there. We'll try to discuss that. When we look at the remote sensing driven crop growth models, here to the left, we have various platforms, like for example, spectroradiometer, drones, aerial photogrammetry, and etc. Out of these, each are having its own advantages and disadvantages marked in plus and minus. The best advantage what we have with respect to agriculture is high resolution satellites. That is the scientific payloads, whatever we have in the satellite, because cost is also an issue. And the geo satellites, that is the geosynchronous satellites, when we take it is having a lower resolution, so that we cannot do it for a village level or a parcel level at an agricultural field. And when we see the remote sensing driven model, so here we are trying to address the growth and monitor the health with regression model, and we also have biomass model, which is giving the harvest index, and at a particular season, after the end of a particular season, how much harvest can be done from a particular field. So crop growth model, that is the yield prediction with respect to the best management practices at the field, etc. So these things can be derived from the crop growth models. And further, when we look at the basic terminologies which concern the field data, that is one of the major thing is evapotranspiration, that is having been transferred from a plant to the atmosphere. And this is a combined loss of water due to transpiration within the plant and evaporation. That is, the root is able to pick up the water and it is being evaporated. Then we have the crop water requirement, that is nothing but the minimum amount of water required for that particular plant to survive. And irrigation water requirement, it is nothing but the supplementing effective rainfall, okay, that is being fed with irrigation along with the soil profile and the groundwater contribution. Then we have the irrigation scheduling, which can be done at various phenology. Phenology means at different stages of growth of a crop, how much amount of water is required. For example, if a person is a farmer, let us say on the banks of river Kaveri near Mandya, or he is having his farm near to the VC canal, so he is not at all worrying about irrigation, because all throughout the year, more or less, he is getting the irrigation water that is being fed to his field. But that is not the sustainable practice. So what I mean to say here is we need to go for sustainable irrigation scheduling. And certain other terms which concern agriculture water management is we have the potential evapotranspiration. This is of course a hypothetical situation where evapotranspiration could occur, wherein you have the very limited, unlimited water supply, and we have a reference crop evapotranspiration that is basically for a standard height of a grass that is being taken and how much water it is consuming. So that is called as a reference crop evapotranspiration. Then we have the actual crop evapotranspiration. We have varied crops, like we have the sugarcane, we have paddy, we have cotton, we have jute. So in particular, how much does a crop require? So that is called as crop evapotranspiration, and this is being governed by Penman-Montage formula, wherein you can estimate the ET0, that is the reference evapotranspiration. So once you know the reference evapotranspiration, that you can calculate what is the actual evapotranspiration. So there are certain factors that influence the evapotranspiration. One of them is the soil factors, what kind of soil absorption capacity of water, etc. Then you have the crop and management factors with respect to irrigation, the pesticide which is being used, etc. Then we have the climatic factors. So under the climatic factors, we have meteorological parameters like temperature, humidity, wind, relative humidity, and also the sunshine hours. So now if you see the crop evapotranspiration, it is a product of crop coefficient multiplied by the standard evapotranspiration, that is the reference crop evapotranspiration. So how to estimate the CT0? Again, as we discussed, this is from the Penman-Montage method. Why Penman-Montage method? Because it is the most accurate method so far which can give the ET values on the ground at the location, and it is closest to the real-time value. Why? Because here you can see the factors which are being considered to arrive at the reference crop evapotranspiration. You are having the net radiation, soil heat flux, and also the temperature at a particular height, that is 2 meter, then wind speed at 2 meter, saturation vapor pressure. All these meteorological factors are taken into account. So that is why this is termed as the most closest value to the ground. How do we measure evapotranspiration? So we have certain instrumentation for measuring the evapotranspiration at the field. One of them is called as the lysimeter, which you can see to the left. So here, this is basically a big cylinder which has been, put underground, that is below the ground level, and some crops are placed on top of that cylinder. And we need to be careful when doing this experiment. So this crop placement, the distance has to be as per the crop that is sown in the field. And these are generally placed in the middle of a large crop field, so that you can get the actual measurement from the field. And when we look at the LIS, that is the large aperture scintillometer, so this measures the heat flux, and then it will give you the evapotranspiration. Usually it operates in the NIR range, that is the 840 to 880 nanometer, or 0.84 to 0.88 micrometer. So here you can see the setup of the ET station at one of the places near Saharanpur in UP. And the next we have the eddy covariance system. Eddy covariance, basically it will give you the wind speed and wind related data and air moisture. So these are very important for evapotranspiration. And what we have is an integrated system where, along with not only the wind speed, we can also calculate the solar radiation, the methane and the CO2 and H2O vapor values, along with air temperature and humidity. So this is called as an integrated eddy covariance system. Now, using all of this, next we can go for crop mapping. How we can map the crops. So if you want to map the crops, one of the major things is we need to understand the growth of the crop from its birth to its harvest. So that is called as the phenological cycle, where it is a sequence of growth at various different stages. Here you can see the paddy at 10 days, that is the seeding, tillering stage 20 days, 30 days elongation, 40 days, then 50 days heading, flowering, and 90 days it will be mature. And when you take paddy or wheat is having a base period of around 120 days, and paddy is generally having a base period of 120 to 140 days, and throughout its phenology, its water requirement of paddy is different. Okay, so with respect to that, we are going to plan our irrigation scheduling. And when we look at the crop mapping using satellite data, it can be done under mostly the supervised approaches. So we have the monotemporal data classification, we have multi-temporal data. Multi-temporal data means for different dates we can classify an image and see what is at what date, how was the crop growth. And we have the time series analysis and object-based classification, where we can pick up different type of crops, and semantic segmentation for using the neural nets we can classify various different crops. Further, if you see the Indian context, as you already know, India is the largest producer of agriculture products, and around 56% of the population depends on agriculture for its livelihood. And currently we have a lot of data sources which are openly available. For example, we have MODIS starting from 250 meters, 500 meters to 1 kilometer resolution, which can give you a fair idea of NDVI for a regional and national scale. Then we have the AWIFS data. Again, it is from IRSP6. Then SRTM DEM, then irrigation scheduling data and Landsat data. This can be helpful for all our agriculture water resource estimation activities. Further, I'm just highlighting one of the study which was done by Ambika et al. At a regional scale, that is at a national scale, to find out the irrigated area, and during the drought year as well, and at the taluk scale, what is the irrigated area. As you can see, many of the areas under the Ganga and here in the Kaveri and Krishna basin are extremely well irrigated, okay, especially that too in the drought years. And we can also have the advantage of various satellites like MODIS 250 meters and IWMI, that is integrated water management information 250 meter resolution map, and this can be used for national scales. Whereas when you come down to AWIFS, that is 56 meter data, or Landsat 30 meter data, or Sentinel 10 meter data, or LIS4 5.8 meter data, then we can have the regional scale, or maybe we can also have a village level data set. I think I might be exceeding time by 5 minutes. I was supposed to stop at 4:51. I'll just go through another 5 to 6 slides quickly, and I'll try to stop my presentation. So at the regional scale, we have ground truth is to be made at the regional scale, and we have uncertainties about the accuracy of how we classify the image, and also we have the acceptable levels of accuracy where the mixed classes. In India, we are having a problem with mixed cropping type within 1 acre or 2 acre of farming field. So at local level, how do we? Yes.
You can take your time, sir.
Yes. Okay. Sure. Okay. So at the local level, how do we monitor the crop mapping? So here, if you see, basically the irrigation potential, what was in 1950s around 22 million hectares, has been increased to 1 or 2 million hectares by 2007, and even if you look at the data today, it is even better. So the watershed level, the irrigation, what we are doing at the watershed level or at the local field level, it has to be made holistically, considering the availability of the data sets and the variability in the crop itself. So for that, we need to go for the remotely sensing data and classification approaches. Of course, when we are looking at a large scale, we can go for unsupervised technique, but when we are looking at a local scale or a village level, we can go for a supervised or a decision tree based technique, which will play a significant role in segregating the crop type. So this is one of the example where the authors have used the random forest technique, for differentiating between the paddy, rice, or the wheat and any other type of crop using the decision trees. So here you can see how it has been made used for the crop discrimination. Basically here the object-based classification, multi-date supervised classification, and the knowledge-based decision trees. out of which the decision tree is giving the better result of sugarcane crop with overall accuracy of 86% and kappa coefficient of 0.73. And at village level especially, we need extremely high resolution data. So for regional scale, we can use the AWIFS or WIFS data. Whereas when we come for the village level, it is important to have a high resolution data such as 5.8 meter. LiSPOR is 5.8 meter, which will give you a fair classification of village level parcels. And one of the limitation what we face is the optimal data set having large cloud coverage, especially when you see the setting of India in terms of meteorology. Ours is a tropical country. More or less throughout the year, except for 2 or 3 months, all our area in our entire nation is covered with cloud. So how to deal with cloud mask? So that is one of the major study. And especially if you see in the monsoon period, that is the Kharif, so we have the clouds invariably. So there is a huge scope wherein we can go with the radar data set with optical data set for effective mapping. And also when we look at the radar applications, we'll deal with a separate thing in that. We'll not try to do it in this particular lecture. And one of the major important aspect is agricultural planning and yield estimation. So we need to see the site suitability for agriculture land. And here we are having so many layers in terms of input data. Input data can be the Landsat, it can be Sentinel, SRTM, etc. And input layers for agriculture, we have soil type, elevation, moisture. All these data are freely available. You can access this and use. But the major issue is with the techniques. What technique you are using? There are very well established techniques such as analytical hierarchical process, multi-criteria decision making, etc. And we also need to consider other factors like soil groups, erosion, salinity, electrical conductivity of soil, NPK values of soil. So if you have all these, then only it can become a very robust model for the yield prediction. One of the studies that we did in Mysore and Mandya district was to estimate the groundwater potential zones in Mysore and Mandya district. And these were the input layers that was used, like I mentioned, elevation, slope, LULC, NDVI, geology, etc. And land cover, we discussed about the NDVI, normalized difference vegetation index. Then land use, we can go with unsupervised or supervised classification technique, like Gaussian maximum likelihood classifier, which considers the variance and covariance along with probability density contours. Then the crop yield prediction is one of the major aspects in agriculture water resource management. So crop yield means to predict how much potential or estimated yield will be produced from a particular sector or from a land. And if you see the Indian scenario, in India, the total land area, when you see this image, the total land area is 328 million hectares, and out of which approximately 200 million hectares is agriculture. You can see this legend here, the light brown color, which is cropland. So around 60% of the total land of India is dedicated for agriculture. This is the World Bank statistics of 2022, and out of which the cereals, the millets and other crops occupy around 51%, whereas the rice occupies around 22.30%. And these are some of the top 10 rice producing states of India. Of course, Karnataka is not under the top 10 because in Karnataka we have varied production in terms of sugarcane, cereals, coffee, spices, etc. And India is very unique in terms of agriculture. That is because already we are sitting in the tropical zone, and the rainfall, if you see, the distribution is not at all uniform, and no models can give a perfect yield prediction for throughout the country. So that is because the rainfall itself is very varying in nature. You can see from this figure. And in Karnataka, if you see, the Bangalore is having around maybe around 1,500 mm annual rainfall, whereas the Agumbe is having 6,000 mm rainfall. So you can just imagine the variability within a state. And also, if you see the food or the agriculture crop production is very different with respect to different regions. Like the Maharashtra, the Telangana is groundnut based and rice based. Then we have the rice and wheat bowl, that is the UP, Bihar, and the West Bengal, etc. Then when we come to the soil type, we have alluvial soils, black soils, that is also varying in nature. Then when we come to the physiography, of course, this is a digital elevation model, that is a TEM that is showing the mountains and plateaus of the topography, that is the Indian setting. And we have the crop monitoring with respect to different scales. So that is varying from 1 kilometer to 10 meter, that is a high resolution, and how the yield can be predicted using the various data sets. One of the major contribution by the Ministry of Agriculture is Fuzzle. So at the global level, we have GeoGlam, where the G20 countries have agreed to produce the agriculture related data sets. And also we have one more NASA Harvest at the global scale. But when you see the Indian scenario, we have Fuzzle scheme that is by the ministry. And earlier to Fuzzle, before 2008, we had CAPE project, that is crop acreage and production estimation. But after 2008, we are having the Fuzzle. And another one is Chaman. Chaman is with respect to horticulture products. So basically, all our agriculture is with respect to the Fuzzle scheme. So Fuzzle integrates the remote sensing data sets. It integrates the econometry model. That is one of the major aspect. Econometry model means it also takes into consideration the current market rates for the agriculture products, and it also gives importance for state level assessment and multi-data assessment, district level assessment, and how it can be implemented for various crops, various majority of the crops that are grown in India, and to estimate the yield. So here you can see the successful Fuzzle implementation for rice and jute, because India is one of the major rice exporter for the world. And also, if you take other crops, Landsat and Sentinel-2 data can be used under the Fuzzle scheme. And the Fuzzle is not a scheme where you are sitting in some AC room and analyzing, but they have also integrated so well that the data or the ground truth can be collected by a farmer, and that can be put in the mobile application, and it directly can run in the Fuzzlesoft application. So one of the experiments that was done is around 11,000 ground truth points were collected to estimate the yield. And another significant experiment is crop cutting experiment, where you take a 5x5 sample crop area, and you cut the crop which is in the harvesting stage, and you estimate what is the acreage, that is nothing but what is the yield per acre. And this can be executed in various parts of a village. I mean, some 4 or 5 different in a village you can take the agriculture land, and that data will be given to the panchayat, and they will be collected by the district, they will be given to the state level, and so on. So that the you can imagine the yield estimation is one of the major exercises by the ministry. And here some of the implementation authorities, like we have the Economics and Statistics Directorate, Mahalanobis MNCFC, which is the backbone of Fuzzle, and also we have India Meteorological Department, etc. And there are some of the limitations of Fuzzle, that is because of varied crop practices in India. Large field diversity is also there, intercropping is there, mixing of crops is there. Within 1 acre, a farmer is able to produce so many crops. So how to identify the yield in that particular case? And as we mentioned, the high cloud coverage during the Kharif season is also one of the major disadvantages. Coming to the data sources, all of them are open source. We have the MOSDAQ, and MODIS data is also available for free. Then we have the Landsat data. We have early warning from USGS, which can give you the evapotranspiration data. One thing what the concern is that when you combine this satellite data with the field data, that will give you more scope for your studies. And also we have the global ET models. And this is the data set that we collected for our study for groundwater modeling, and all of them are open source. You can see Bukosh for geomorphology, geology was taken from Bukosh, DEM SRTM, which is freely available, and so on. These are some of the books that I have referred while preparing the slides. And one of the most heard name in agriculture remote sensing is Mr. Dr. Prasad S. Tenkabail. So he has written, I think, series of books on agriculture and food security. So I have referred to most of his books. So with this, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity on this World Water Day to give some of my knowledge, what I have acquired over the years on geoinformatics and agriculture water resource. I would like to thank Professor TVRAMACHANDRA for giving me this opportunity once again. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this very informative presentation on the applications and application of geoinformatics in agriculture and the agriculture-related water resource management. It was very insightful to see how the geospatial technologies can be used for our water agriculture conservation through various methods, like you have explained. So, sir, is it okay if we take the questions after Abhish next presenter?
Yeah, sure. It is not a problem.
Okay, sir. Then I'd like to request Divya to introduce our next speaker.
It is an immense pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Abhishek Baghel. Abhishek Baghel, a researcher from IISc Bangalore Energy Wetland Research Group. His work focuses on water sustainability, ecological conservation, and urban planning through a comprehensive understanding of software development life cycles, cloud infrastructure, and geospatial technologies. With that, I extend a warm welcome to Abhishek Baghel and invite him to share his valuable insights with us.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Thank you for the introduction. So I think most of things are covered with the Chandra's presentation. I can start with the easy part and then we'll go to the technical part. Starting with the Bangalore Lakes water sustainability. Is the slides visible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So starting with the World Water Day, we'll go to the importance of lakes. So lakes serve as a crucial water reservoirs for providing water availability for everyone and supports diverse ecosystems. They play a vital role in regulating local and regional climates through evaporation, water cycle, and influencing the water patterns. Lakes offer habitats for wide variety of fauna, flora, and contributes to the biodiversity. They are essential for various human activities such as agriculture, industries, recreational, which also boost the local economics. So going with the biodiversity of lakes. So in this we have three major topics. I'll be covering them. First is the biodiversity. The biodiversity, it has rich aquatic ecosystems. It is home to diverse fish species like, I'm talking about Bangalore. So fish species like katla, rohu, tilapia, and it also supports life for amphibians, reptiles, and many other insects and faunal avial diversity also. And for the avian diversity, it's resident for like it's a habitat for resident and also the migratory birds such as pelican, flamingos, cranes, vultures. These Bangalore lakes is a key stopper for the Central Aviation Flyway, which comes from northern Russia till the south, that is our Sri Lanka, Kanyakumari and Sri Lanka. So with the fauna done, flora and wetland vegetations also includes the lotus, water hyacinth, reeds, which help in water purification also. And the lake also supports the surrounding trees such as banyan, peepal, willows for nesting sites for the resident birds. Ecological role, these lakes act as a breeding ground for many species and supports the food chain. It helps in water sustainability, carbon sequestration, and maintaining genetic diversity. The threats are the alarming rate of encroachment, pollution, and habitat destructions has endangered the biodiversity. Restoration efforts focusing on desilting, wastewater treatment, and most importantly, the community participation is very much required. Coming to the natural capital accounting and valuation of ecosystem services, this we have referred this book. You can get it online. It is available in Amazon and many other places. I'll just go through the main parts, such as regulating services, which includes the ecosystem, which regulates climate, air quality, flood control, and pollination. Provisional services, where nature provides food, water, raw material, and energy resources. Cultural services are accounted where ecosystem offer recreational, spiritual, and educational benefits. And coming to TSV, total economic value of ecosystem services, is the full economic worth of ecosystems, including direct and indirect benefits. NPV, net present value, gives the present day value of future ecosystem benefits used in cost benefit analysis. If you want to go through all of this in a deeper, so you can refer the book. Coming to the water quality in lakes, the key parameters are much more than which I have written. This is just some part which I'll explain, whereas the key parameters of water quality parameters, dissolved oxygen, DO, signifies the essential for ecosystem life, aquatic life, often low due to pollution. The nutrient load, which comes from excess nitrogen and phosphorus, can lead to eutrophication and algal bloom, as you can see in the image. The pH levels ranging from slightly acidic to alkaline due to industrial and domestic waste. BOD, biochemical oxygen demand. The high levels indicate organic pollution. And some of the major sources of pollution are untreated sewage discharge, industrial effluents, dumping of wastewater and plastic pollutions, agricultural runoff carrying fertilizers and pesticides, then impacts on ecosystems and public health, the decline in aquatic biodiversity due to oxygen depletion and toxins. The toxins which comes in the lake are then again uh, filtered, partially filtered, and then goes into the underwater systems, underwater where all your borewells and connects for water. So it will come directly to your home also. And for restoration and management strategies, there's a need for sewage treatment plants and wetland-based filtrations, and lake desilting and aeration can be used to improve the water quality. So now these three parts, we can integrate all this with the technology. I'll go a little technical now. So this is the digital elevation model of Bangalore city. As you can see, firstly I'll explain DM, digital elevation model. It actually provides a 3D representation which I have pasted as 2D to show you guys, which shows the terrain of the city, showing the elevation across the entire city. So in this you can see there are three parts. The highest point is 937 meters, which is nearly the IISc gate over here. So which comes as a 3 quad sector. So in this you can see the Bangalore, the hilly area, is more of a tetrahedron type of shape. Tetrahedron is a triangular pyramid. Aside from the bottom face, it has 3 side faces. So if we take those three side faces, we get three valleys, three catchment areas of the waters, which are Hebbal Nagavara Valley, Varshavati Valley, and Kormangla and Chalagatta Valley. Three major valleys. So these water catchment areas of Bangalore include interconnected lakes and valleys to collect channels for rainwater and replenishing the groundwater and surface water sources. What this urban impact, this white area has done is it has disrupted the natural water stream network, which is a very complex network which was generated naturally over the years. So as you can see, this white area, the industrial build-up area, not just industrial, the residential areas also, which have taken over some of the lakes also. This areas and just disrupting the lakes and the streams also causes the degradation and pollution. So if the parent, not just the parent one, if the prior lake, as in Belundur Lake, is affected, so the water which goes from Belundur to Vartur, which then Vartur Lake will also be affected. So this is what we have compiled. These are the lakes of Bangalore data. We have compiled 175 lakes and we are still quantifying them. And we have completed everything in this application, PLIS Plus. You can visit the website also. In this, we have three major parts: the water quality, ecosystem services and biodiversity, encroachment of lakes, and educational resources. Firstly, the ecosystem services and biodiversity. In this, you can see the provisional services, regulating services, cultural services. This is for Hebbal Lake. The services and how much are they valued at? TESV, MPV, the million INRs. Then the biodiversity, microalgae, zooplankton, ethiofauna, fishes, microphytes, and then coming to the water quality, water temperature, TDS, EC, pH, total hardness, all of the data is present. Secondly is the encroachment data, where you can see how much data is encroached in Hebbal Lake. The Hebbal Lake area is 192.48 acres. The encroached area is 29 acres, whereas in the government records say it is 28.32 acres. So this is the government data record file also, it's present. Next is the educational resources. You can see the news, posters, presentations, publications. And if I have time, I can take you to the website itself. Sulika?
It is visible. Okay.
Okay, one second. Hello?
Yeah.
Visible?
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see, this is the application. You can search it through valleys also and lakes also. If I can select any, if I want to select any lake, I can select Sankey Lake. One second. This is the encroachment data. Now it's the environmental services, water quality, biodiversity data. Sankey Lake, the provisional services, all of them, the biodiversity data, and the water quality data. Then coming to the encroachment data, whereas you can see how much data is encroached, how much. Let's see, Nagwara Lake, the lake area is 75.33 acres, and the encroached area is 3.55 acres. So you can go through all this, see whichever lake is near your home, how much it is affected. And we have solutions also. The water scarcity in Bangalore, You can read through them, how you can contribute to the society, how you can help your lake. And you can also go through our second application, DUIS. This will give you all the urban development which has been done in Bangalore. As you can see, it has gone from green to red. You can go through this also. I think that's it. Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay.
So thank you, Abhishek, for your insights to the Bangalore waterscape as well as this urban scape. So now we'll take the questions. First question is from Tanuja Joshi to Chandan sir. Hello sir, great PPT. Thank you for the valuable insights. I would like to understand that can we
Yeah. Tulika, I saw the question.
Okay, okay.
Let me just answer. I think Tanuja's question is mostly with genetically modified crops and how it is going to affect, the farming practices, and with respect to soil quality or any other for that matter. So yes, basically we can continuously track the genetically modified crops and its effects. Here we have something called as soil quality monitoring, so which can be done using soil moisture estimation. Actually, I have not covered in this presentation the soil moisture estimation part. So basically, if you use Sentinel or SMAP applications, we can get to know the soil moisture activity at the ground level, right? And along with our SAR data set also. So this can have significant, influences on soil erosion, soil quality, etc. And another thing is soil organic carbon can also be monitored with respect to, the normal crops what we grow with limited pesticide usage and the genetically modified crops. So that can be also taken care with respect to MODIS images if you are trying to look at a regional scale, or Sentinel images if you are trying to look at a local scale. And the when it comes to the soil fertility or soil health, so that can be done through thermal and hyperspectral sensing. So mostly we require the sensors at the ground. So that can help us in assessing and detecting the temperature variations and how it is affecting the soil quality, right? So these are my views on Tanuja's questions. And when we look at the other
Thank you,
question,
sir. Thank you so much.
yeah, please go ahead, Tanuja. You were saying something. Have I answered your question?
No, I was just saying thank you so much. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. And one more question was from Gagana saying that the farmers with large agriculture areas can invest in these instruments. Yeah, definitely. I agree with your comment that the instruments what I showcased, like the lysimeter, maybe scintillometer, or anything for that matter, and integrated. So nowadays, the order of the day is government is planning to provide the integrated instrumentation at the agriculture field. They have a tie-up with Geo, and anyway, this is still going on at regional levels. How best we can manage the farm practices with respect to advanced instruments and satellite data. So that exercise is already being done by Ministry of Agriculture, and maybe very soon we would be able to see some light in this direction, along with participation of private players like Geo or any other big players. Yeah. Any other questions?
One more question is there, sir, from Lakshmi Priya. How do natural filtration system like wetlands help in maintaining the water quality? The question is to both of the speakers.
Yeah, I think Abhishek, please answer.
Well, when the water passes through the soil, which acts as a membrane, it does the treatment. Okay, that's how the water quality is maintained in the groundwater. But if the contaminant exceeds the threshold of the soil, then we will have the contamination in the groundwater. That's why we need to assess the soil quality at regular interval to ensure that soil is not contaminated beyond the threshold level. Okay.
Thank you, sir. There are no more questions. Now I'd like to request TVS sir to conclude the session.
Okay, thanks to both the speakers, Chandan and Abhishek. Chandan venturing into new area, agriculture,
Yes,
and
sir.
you have brought in the thing. Probably you should include the climate resilient the agriculture also, and also if you can highlight on the where what we can grow considering the changes that is happening in the climate, that would be the value addition to your presentation. Certainly, that the Padma Shri awardee farmers is a really an interesting thing. There are many people like him throughout
Yes,
the
sir. That
country.
was the source of inspiration for me to take up this field actually. Much
Yeah,
before
yeah.
that, I didn't have any idea about farming practices. But after that, I have been into the research on agriculture and related. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. And also, since you are in NIDK now, you should also plan to have the field trials so
Yes,
that
sir.
in the long run, that becomes a good investment. You can have a land and you can practice the thing with some of the farmers. Probably that will help in the long run. Okay. Then
Yes, sir.
coming to the Bangalore Lake Information System by Abhishek, this one. So he has highlighted about what are the what is the role played by the lakes and how this technology helps in the getting the information up to date about the lakes and the contribution towards the disseminating the knowledge to the wider section of society through the BLIS, that is Bangalore Lake Information System. I thank both the speakers for the interesting talks on the water day. This is a very crucial day, and fortunately on this water day today we have the rain outside in Bangalore. I don't know whether it is closer to my office is raining or it is raining throughout Bangalore, but I could see some drizzling happening through the window. So I hope that this year we may not face the problem, because you two youngsters have given a talk on the water day. Maybe the country will not face the water crisis with many more youngsters having this kind of idea and implement it, so that we can ensure sustainability of resources for which is available for everyone. Okay, thank you both, and thanks to all the audience for taking active part in the webinar.
Thank you, sir.
Tulika?
Thank you, sir. And with this we come to an end for with this insightful webinar. And as sir said, with this webinar, we have been blessed with this season's first shower, which is a reminder of the importance of water and its impact on our lives. So I thank both the speakers, TVS sir, and as well as all the participants for your active engagement. We encourage you to keep an eye on EIACP website and also our social media pages for announcements of further webinars on live series. You can also visit our YouTube channel, NVS IISc, for more informative talks on environmental topics. Thank you once again for being a part of this event.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all.